Oh, hello, good morning. I am actually doing this tea break chat from bed because jet lag is real. And this is let's see here. So today's Wednesday. We landed back on Monday. So I've had 2 nights home, and I just don't want to get out of bed yet. So there's a 5 hour time difference at the moment. It's normally a 6 hour time difference, but because the clocks in England have changed, it's currently five. Sorry, I'm just moving my tea without trying to spill it. Um, and so, although it's 10 o'clock here, my body thinks it's somewhere closer to 5 a.m. And I just don't want to get out of bed yet. So I'm not. It doesn't mean you get yesterday's leftover hair, though. So there you go. Anyway, hi. It's been 2 weeks because we've been in Wisconsin, you may have noticed. And I know when I did the last tea break chat before we went, I said at that time I was planning on doing these while I was there. That was my intention. Um, and then we got there and it just didn't happen. So there's just too much going on. There's too much going on, really. And I think I did a post at one point you might have seen about how when I get to Wisconsin, my brain just shuts off from everything else, like in a way that it doesn't any other time. So even like during this super, super busy season with my job, which is no more, but during my corporate accounting job, like even when I am crazy busy with that, my brain is still coming up with all kinds of coaching stuff, like posts and stories and lessons and all kinds of stuff I want to share. The tricky part for me then is to actually like get it shared and like, write it down and put it out there. So that doesn't always happen. So my content slows down because I just can't like actually get it out there, but it's all up in my brain still happening. That's totally different when I go home to Wisconsin. My brain just like shuts off from all of it. I am like fully there with my family, with my friends, with the girls. There is nothing like life admin pretty much stops. Coaching content totally stops. Like I'm just there living it. And rather than trying to fight that, I embraced it. I was like, okay, cool. Let's just do this. So that is why I apologize for setting you up saying there will still be tea break chats and then there weren't. So I am sorry for that. But what kind of teacher would I be if I was like, hey, do things that make you feel good, follow the ease, follow the flow, like, follow your pleasure. And then was like, but I must power through. I must go against what my body is telling me. And I must like, that's, I don't want to do that. I want to live by example. And so if doing a tea break chat was going to cause me too much stress and like it just wasn't fitting in, then the best thing to do is to not do it. So that's where we're at. But all that said, we're back now. We're here. We're doing this one, and I'm so excited to be back because I really have missed this. I've missed you guys, and so yeah, I'm excited for all of this. And I do have three really good questions for you, so we'll come on to those shortly. Um, in terms of like general life chat, so yeah, the trip is the main thing that's been going on since I talked to you last. It was awesome. um, the travel was tricky, especially on the way there. So yeah, I haven't done one of these since then. But so we were supposed to leave on a Saturday. That morning, Nora got sick in the car on the way to the airport. I got sick at the airport. Ultimately decided we couldn't get on the plane. Had to turn around and drive back home from Manchester. Not ideal when you feel awful. Found a friend who was willing to take the girls for like most of the afternoon that day because parenting when you're sick is the absolute worst of worsts. So I had a friend help me with that. While at the same time I was on the phone at the airport trying to reschedule flights, and it was all a drama. We ended up rescheduling booking new flights for 2 days later. On those flights, the long haul bit went fine, but from the point of landing in Atlanta, where we had a layover and then a connecting flight to Chicago, and then a 3 hour drive home after that. So from landing in Atlanta to getting home to Appleton, Nora threw up 6 times. It was stressful to say the least. By the time my sister picked us up, I was just done. I was shattered. I was fried. I was like all the things. And I remember saying to my sister, like, hi, I just need you to be the mom now for all of us. I don't even know what we need, but I can't do any more. Will you please just be the mom for all of us? And she was kind of like, okay, are you okay? I don't know. um, so, they're like, I had to just, I held it together as best I could. I mean, I did hold it together for the girls, but as soon as there was somebody else to take over, I was like, here, it's all yours. Everything, the mental burden, all of it. We were in the car. She got us home. Um, it was tough. It was really tough. Um, then we had an absolutely wonderful, just shy of 2 weeks. We did all the things, played with the cousins, saw our friends, just had an amazing time. We stay with my sister. My niece is 10 and my nephew is 12, and they are just incredible children. My brother-in-law is just great. Like everything, staying with them is wonderful. Um, so yeah, we had a great time with that. And then we flew back we left on Sunday, got home on Monday. It's an overnight flight. Nobody was sick this time. Thank the heavens above. But I was definitely stressed worrying about that because like it just, so I wasn't as stressed as the flight before because nobody had actually been sick, but it was definitely in my awareness in a way that hasn't been on any other flight. But we managed to get home with nothing out of the ordinary. So by the time we landed back, like I was tired, but just like regular tired. It wasn't the kind of where it was when we landed there. Um, the girls were amazing. They did, super awesome listening. Nobody had any meltdowns. Evie has picked up a new defiant streak, which is tons of fun. Where she is just testing boundaries all over the place and likes to go straight into, no, I won't do it. And so there was definitely a bit of that, but it's expected when she's 2, almost 3. So, and there were no, like I said, there were no huge meltdowns, there were no crazy tantrums, anything like that. So luckily we got through it all pretty fine. And yeah, now the transition back though, this is tough. And to be honest, I had kind of forgotten about how hard the transition back home is. And it's only through looking through my stories archive at last year's at this time where I've been reminded, okay, yeah, this is a tough time. You just have to go with it. So sleep. So the first night is pretty great because everybody is super exhausted from the flight. So we slept for a very long time the first night. Night 2 is absolutely awful. The last year I was posting saying that the girls have been up for like 4 hours in the night, and it was terrible. Um, Last night was our night 2 here. The girls were actually at their dad's house, so I didn't have them. But I've had reports that nobody slept. Everybody was very grumpy. Things are not going well at their house. Um, so night 2 is the worst. The girls are going to come back to me tonight, and we'll see, because last year it took like 4 or 5 days before sleep actually got back to normal. And as you know, when sleep is all jacked up, then the rest of life is harder. We've got most of my suitcases unpacked, but not all of it. I have to go out to the store to buy food today because I don't have any food and I haven't done that yet. So there's just, the transition back is tough, is what I'm saying. So I am going to remember that and remember that this isn't unusual. It's not because I am failing or doing anything wrong. It's just jet lag fucking sucks. And but we will get through it. We've got the tools to get through it. I can be gentle. I've slept well. So the good part, at least with the girls being at their dad's last night, is that I've slept well on night 2. So when they come back tonight, I'm at least in a better place and like better resourced myself to deal with whatever their sleep issues are. So that's not always possible. Last year it wasn't. I had them through the whole time. But the fact that it was possible this year is good news for me, bad news for my co-parent, but good news in terms of how I'll be able to parent the girls tonight. And really it is all about like resourcing yourself up as much as possible so that you can handle all the bumps and crazy stuff that happens. And that's like for life in general, not just the jet lag after a trip. So yeah, I think that's the main stuff that I wanted to talk about. Um, yeah, so I think given that I've got 3 good questions this week, I will move straight on to those. So, the first question that I had was about, and I always say these are great questions and they're big questions, and how can I answer them in this little time? I know I say that every week, but that's because every week it's true. But the question this week was, what's my kind of favorite tip for getting intimate with life, taking intimacy with life up a level? And I was coming up with lots of things, but obviously this is meant to be short snippets answers. I think my favorite thing for taking intimacy with life up a level is it's 2 things, 3 things. So it's slowing down, first of all, slowing down and getting really intentional with life. So this was the very first is a goal that I set for myself when I started really doing this kind of inner work and, personal growth journey, whatever you want to call it. The first year that I really got real about it, I set myself the intention of being intentional every day and living life with intention. And that to me means slowing down and really kind of like my words aren't coming out. So yeah, slowing down, being intentional about life. And the slowing down then allows for a few things. So it's not just slowing down for the sake of slowing down, although there is that too, because living life at breakneck speed just has your, adrenaline going crazy, your cortisol going crazy. So slowing down is beneficial in and of itself. But more than that, it's that it gives you a chance to let pleasure in. So, I talk about pleasure and feel good quite a lot, and that is absolutely crucial. It's not just, a silly throwaway idea. It's really important because the pleasure and the feel good do wonders for your nervous system to calm your nervous system down, to really help like feel good, which then allows for a lot more like a lot deeper work in other ways. So letting the pleasure and the feel good in is really, really important for as the foundation for all of this work. Slowing down also lets you do things with intention, like I said, so adding intention into your life. And there's a quote that I'm gonna totally butcher here, but it's something about the space between a stimulus and your response is what allows for intention. Like I said, I'm totally butchering the quote, but it's so rather than reacting to life all the time and just something happens and you react, something happens and you react. It's giving yourself, it's pausing, slowing down, giving yourself a space to choose your response, to choose how you want to respond to something. And that is huge. That's absolutely huge. And in that space where you're taking that space, the third piece of this is asking yourself questions. So to get intimate with life, it's asking yourself questions. It's a why is my initial reaction this way? How do I want to respond to this? What would my highest self do right now? And really giving yourself time to think through. So, and this can be a really hard habit to break actually, because we are so in the habit of something happens and you respond. Somebody says something, you bite back. Somebody says something and you lash back out at them, and that's really hard to break that pattern. But being able to do that, taking that pause, taking that breath, that space in between, makes a huge, huge difference in how you feel about life, how you are intimate with yourself, with other people. So yeah, so I think all of that wrapped up is the slowing down, the giving yourself space to choose a response rather than reacting, the letting the pleasure, excuse me, letting pleasure and feel good in, and really just being intentional and asking yourself questions and being willing to go inside to ask yourself the questions and listen to the answers. Um, yeah, I think that's my answer to that one. Let me think if there's anything else. I don't think so. I think the one other thing that I'll just add on to that really quickly is that the pleasure and feel good part, and I know we talk about this a lot, but that's because it's super, super important. But that it's about letting pleasure and feel good in. So it's noticing what's already there, but it's also about intentionally creating pleasure and feel good and more opportunities for that. So again, it comes back to that being intentional about your life and about, so not just accepting what there is, but purposely going out and seeking pleasure and feel good and finding ways to bring more of that into your life. I think that's about it. Yes. Okay. The next question is, oh, hold on, I think I'm gonna sneeze. No, I think we're okay. So my next question that I had was about how do you deal with jealousy and self-worth within friendships? And that can be such a big one. So I think, and the question wasn't clear on whether it was jealousy, like if you're the one feeling jealous of a friend or whether a friend is feeling jealous of you. So I'm not sure which way the question's coming from, but either way, I think so. Jealousy and self-worth issues within a friendship can be really tricky. But I think what it comes down to is that really all you can ever do is focus on you and your stuff. So this is where I talk about it's intimacy with self first and foremost. So if you are looking at your life and what you have and getting yourself really comfortable with your stuff, then what other people are feeling or doing or having becomes less important. The feeling of jealousy usually comes up when somebody not usually, is when somebody has something that you want and you don't have. So and that could be material stuff, it could be relationships, it could be, income, a house, whatever. It could be all kinds of stuff. But so if you are feeling jealous of somebody else, I think both ways. If someone's jealous of you or you're jealous of them, a really important kind of concept to understand is that none of life is a fixed sum game or is that the right word? It's not just what you have doesn't take away from what other people have and vice versa. So just because somebody has a bigger house doesn't mean that you can't have a bigger house. It doesn't mean just because you earn more money than your friend doesn't mean that they can't then earn more money. So a lot of us are grow up with this scarcity mindset where there's just not enough to go around. And this shows up in all parts of our lives. And part of this work that I've been doing is to change to an abundance mindset where there is so much to go around. There's more than enough to go around for everybody. And so jealousy comes back solely to this scarcity mindset of they've got something and I don't have it and I want that too and there's just not enough for me too. Whereas if you can flip it and go, why can't we all have that? Or that there is more than enough for everybody. The other part of that is of jealousy within friendships and relationships is understanding that life isn't either or. It doesn't have to be they've got it so I don't. It's not, but it's about both and I've talked about this concept before, although probably not quite as much. But that there's room for more than one thing to be true at all times. So one way that I was thinking of jealousy within friendships is that sometimes for me it's come up where I've seen friends who are in like happy, healthy, loving relationships, and I feel a twang of jealousy over that I don't have a happy, healthy, loving relationship. I'm parenting on my own, or it's not just parenting, it's just like life stuff, and I'll see people I'm like, oh, they're going through that hard thing, but at least they've got their husband. At least they're not on their own with that. At least they've got somebody to talk to, and I'll feel a twang of jealousy for that. And really, though, what I remind myself of is they get to be happy in that relationship, and I get to be happy too. Just because I don't have it right now doesn't mean it's not coming, and it doesn't mean I don't have other ways for this to happen. But it's not like just because they're happy just means I don't get to be. That's bullshit. And that's not the case at all. It's that they get to feel the way they feel, and I get to feel the way I feel. So it's that relationship is coming for me, or it's not here yet and I wish it was, but that it still doesn't take away from the fact that they get to be happy. I don't want them to be like, my friends who are in this happy relationship, them being unhappy wouldn't actually make me any happier. What's happening in their life is independent and unrelated from what's happening in my life. Um, and so me being jealous and like wishing bad on them doesn't actually change anything in my life at all. So I think those are kind of the ways that I think about jealousy within friendships and relationships. Um, Let me know if that kind of covered it, or if there's anything else that you want to talk about on that front, because I'm not sure if I, got what you were going for in there, but let me know. We can talk about it more. And then the final question that I had for today was about how do you deal with it when you want your kids to do well, but you don't want to be a pushy parent? And I mean, I feel like that, to me, that feels like a constant balancing game, because I totally feel this way. So you know, I was an A student all growing up for the most part, and I like have, a strong inner good girl who wants to do really well at all the things. And I was definitely like, yeah, I was the oldest child, like I said, A student, like the good girl who did everything really well in school. Um, and although I've been doing a lot of work to kind of tone that down, like it doesn't, you don't always have to get A's. You don't have to prove your worth or prove your love, or like your worth by getting A's and being the perfect, good girl at everything. So I'm doing a lot of work on that. But that said, there's still a part of me that wants my children to do really well, that wants them to do well in school and to, achieve at things. And so I get that. I understand that desire that, as a parent wanting my kids to do really well. And it's actually funny this question comes up today, because today is parent teacher conferences tonight. So we'll see how Nora's been doing this year. But then how do you balance that with, again, not wanting to be a pushy parent, not wanting to instill that, like, you have to earn my love. If you don't get straight A's, then, you're a horrible person. And I'm exaggerating, but that's kind of the feelings that we can internalize as a result of all of this. And so I think for me, when I'm parenting, I go back over and over and over to, I just love and adore my children for exactly who they are. And they do have all kinds of strengths, and they might not all be academic, and they might be, and the strengths and skills that our kids have will evolve over time. And I know particularly who this question is coming from, their child is still quite young. And this will certainly change over time as our kids grow up. But it's about letting our kids be their truest, fullest selves and giving them the opportunities to learn in different ways, to do different things. But I remember like when do their health visitors do their first assessments? Is it like 12 months or 18 months? And I remember my NCT friends, so there were 7 of us. We had 8 kids between us, and we're like all going through these NCT assessments of what our kids could and couldn't do at that age, around like 12 to 18 months. And some of our kids were way better at like the gross motor skills. They were doing better walking. They could hop on one leg. They could go up the stairs one foot after the other instead of like one foot then the other, that kind of thing. Some kids were really great at that. Others couldn't really do that stuff yet, but they had better fine motor skills, and they could put the little beads on the string, and they could, trace a line that we had drawn, and whatever it was, or they had more words at that point, and the other kids didn't have as many words, that kind of thing. And it was easy to see because I had known all of these babies from the day they were born, pretty much, and it was really easy within our friend group to see that, like, although they were doing different things, all of our babies were utterly amazing. All of them were absolutely great. They were doing things at different times, but they were all doing things. And I had no doubt in my mind whatsoever that any of our kids, like, weren't developing as they were supposed to be. Or that if there was something that there was a developmental issue, that they were going to get the help that they needed. So for me, it was easy to see that, like, hey, kids just do things at their own time and in their own way, and that's absolutely fine. And keeping that in mind as our kids grow older and older, I think is really, really important. So, and if I look at my friends, now as grown-ups, I've got some friends who are so, so, so smart and so intelligent and so great at, what they're doing in life. They were not good test takers, though. And so school was more of a struggle for them because they just weren't good at taking tests. And that's what you get measured on in school. But that has absolutely no bearing on their intelligence or their success or their happiness at life now as adults. Equally, I was a very good test taker. I can remember knowledge really well for the purposes of a test, but as soon as that test is over, it falls out of my brain. It's gone, it's like it never existed. So I can get really good grades on tests and pass school really well, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually any smarter because none of it has stuck in my head. I don't remember any of it afterwards. So it's just test taking is a skill I have, but actually remembering things is not a skill that I have. And that's okay. So I think it's whenever you're feeling tempted to push your kids into things, I think it's really helpful for me to take a step back and to look at the fact that we have all these different skills. There's so many different ways of showing abilities, showing smarts, showing all kinds of things, and to let your kids have the opportunity to grow into each of theirs and to support them in whatever that is. Another big thing that I remember frequently, and I've done since the girls were very, very tiny, and I still do now, is really kind of complimenting them on their efforts and their trying to do things as opposed to the end result. So, from a tiny age, the shape sorting cubes. So a cube that's got, a triangle wooden block and a heart wooden block and a square, and they're trying to get them in there. When they are doing something like that, I would really focus on complimenting. You're trying so hard. Good job. Oh, I know it's frustrating when it doesn't go in, but you're turning it different ways. That's great. I love to see you turning it and trying different ways. And yes, I would cheer when they got it in, but I wouldn't cheer any more loudly than I was for the fact that they were trying so hard. And I do that now, even with Nora in school and the stuff she's doing now. I put just as much emphasis, if not more, on the effort she puts in, on the trying to do something, as I do on the getting it done. Because I want that to be, the getting it done isn't the be all end all. It's I want to focus on, for my kids, resilience and, and on effort and trying to do things. So to me, that's another helpful tip. Is there anything else on that? No, I guess just come back to recognizing that your kids will have a million amazing talents and be so awesome, and it might not look the exact same way you wanted it to look. It might not look the exact same way it's looked for you or for your friends' kids, and that's okay. If you look around at your friends now and the adult world around you, we all have such different skill sets and different abilities. And different things, and that is so crucial for making the world go round. If we all had the exact same skills, things would, that wouldn't work. So it's remembering that in the adult life and going, okay, if I want to apply that to my kids and know that, it might look different than what I thought, but that let me focus on what they're really amazing at, and let's big them up in as many ways as we can, and let's focus on praising their effort, and, if they do need some extra help in some areas, we can do that. But pretty much everybody responds better to positive reinforcement. So even if they are behind in something, and I'm going to say behind in quotes, focusing on the positive reinforcement will get you so much further than pushing them. And if there's stuff that they need to improve on, little and often is way, way, way better with kids. So yeah, I think that's all I've got on that front. So I've talked for a long time today. So as always, I will wrap up by saying, if you want to go deeper into any of this, then absolutely let me know. We can do that in my one-to-one coaching, which I haven't been posting about while I've been away, but I will be back with a bang and let you know what's available. But we've got the single sessions. We've got currently a 3-session mini package, where we've got the 3-month option, the ones that I've been offering for a while. There's going to be some new stuff coming up. But in any case, if any of this strikes a chord with you and you want to go in deeper, just send me a message and we can work out the best way to do that for you. there's going to be just lots and lots of new stuff coming up after I get over my jet lag and get back into like the normal swing of life. So keep an eye out for that. Let me know in the comments how this was for you. If there's anything else you want to talk about, and I will be back next week to do the same thing again. Back on normal schedule. So if there's anything else you need, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to try and sort my life out a little bit more today. And I will talk to you all soon. Mwah. Love you. Bye.